Good night, everybody. It's kind of late. How's everybody doing? Screen Rant said Justice League Art Final Battle originally featured Apocalypse on Earth. And this article is done by Tom Chapman. And what's amazing about this article, to be honest with you, is how they twist the information to say basically that the concept art shows that, what Zack Snyder originally intended was not adhered to, and that they watered it down. Basically, the concept art was shared by Christian Lorenz Schurer, and fans can see much more of Apocalypse coming to Earth rather than a simple flying flock of parademons. Also fitting with the dark aesthetic that Zack Snyder's superhero movies have been known for, the designs are a far cry from the finished product. Okay, and he goes on to talk more and more about that. Let me just show you what actually he's talking about. So this is Christian Lorenz Schiffer's gallery, and here is the artwork for what he's talking about. So here, if you look at this artwork right here, you see pretty much what you saw in the movie actually. So this is the nuclear silo in which the League was inside with Steppenwolf. On the side of the silo are these growths that grow up, and it goes up into the air, forming the dome, which you will see right here. Okay, so all of this is the dome here. This is the dome that the Batwing, sorry, not the Batwing, the Troop Carrier, aka the Flying Fox, blows a hole into. Now the design's a little bit different. It was dome-like in Justice League, and here it's more of a triangular dome. But actually, if you do remember in the sneak peek of the Justice League trailers, we saw there was a dome. So it's actually a dome. A lot of this design was the earlier designs, so that what you have when you look inside of the place, so here he bursts forth through the dome here, and then it crashes, which is what it's supposed to do. And then if you look here, you see the Batmobile racing towards the dome. Okay, and they give you a nice look at everything here. They see the stuff growing on the houses and stuff, and I do believe this is the structures that you would have seen more on the houses and stuff, not the blobby like things with the projections. So I believe that was going to be more like that, not as exaggerated as this, but still more or less like it. And then Steppenwolf looks really like an early draft of himself, which is this, but I do believe what we saw for Steppenwolf was what they were actually going to give us anyway. And here's Atlantis, and you can see with the early concept art for Atlantis, again, it looked more creature-like, but obviously they were more humanoid, the Atlanteans. So, again, that was Zack Snyder did that. This was early concept art, but it changed. And so I don't believe that Zack Snyder, one, was fired, as the guy tried to claim, and two, that this early concept art, which was mostly followed, was going to be in the final movie exactly like this. Okay, this was concept art. So they refined it a bit, but again, if you watch the sneak peek trailer, you see basically what they were going for. I think this is the thing that would have been the blobby stuff that was moving around all the time. I think that was not so in the original thing. I think it was much more flames, fire, and I thought there was going to be a lot more. The color palette also was going to be darker and more gray metallic looking, even though it would still have the glow of the red and the purples in it. So I think that majorly, but I think basically everything that we saw was basically what we would have seen. Some of the animation would have been changed a bit, and the place would have still looked the same way how we saw it, just that the color palettes would have been tweaked a different way. So I think that's the thing. So what I'm basically saying is that basically what we saw in the movie was what we were going to get anyway. And this guy, he just has to, they cannot contain themselves to say negative things about the DCEU. And so because they have done that, it is fair game for me to do the same. So I will do the same. They're trying to fuel hate towards Justice League right now because the actual DVDs and Blu-ray releases are doing quite well. DVD at the top of the charts right now for DVD and Blu-ray, and Warner Brothers is very happy about that. And so this is just negative propaganda to try and hurt that. And since they're doing negative propaganda in Justice League. I said to anybody, wherever you are, if you're in social media, wherever you are, if I see negative media in Justice League, I'm going to highlight negative media on the MCU. And so because of that, I got to do that. So let's look at the MCU for a minute. And we do. Thor Ragnarok just happens to be the culprit here. So Thor Ragnarok, if you look at the posters here for Thor Ragnarok, very psychedelic, very colorful, right? But truth be told, Thor Ragnarok is a far cry from what Thor comics are. Here's some Thor comics here right in front of you, the covers of them. This is Thor. Here's the Hulk in it, okay? And Thor comics, man, are very, very, very graphic, all right? This is Thor, and you see here Thanos behind him there. And these are recent Thor comics. This one's from the 90s, Ragnarok. Now I want to show you guys, this is just not Thor, okay? Thor don't even laugh like that. Thor can be in comical situations, but Thor don't laugh. This is what a Thor comic looks like, so you guys get an idea, all right? So this is Thor here, and this elf-like looking thing says, "What did you do, Thor? What did you do?" And Mirlock comes out, which is basically a version of his father Odin, which is just messed up. And he says, "My boy." And Thor says, "I had a bad dream." And then Mirlock says, "Where is my son? My father, my nightmare." Okay? So, with crows coming out, it's like Odin's coming out of hell or something. And then we have Enchantress. And in another portion of the same comic, she's chopped off the head of a human who wanted to be as a god. And she says, "Behold the birth of a god." And all the ooze is coming out of him and moving around. And this guy, he's got a decapitated head and he's yelling out, "No!" And she says, "Look, Blake, look at what you have wrought." No, no one tries to make it stop, make it stop. And this monster is coming up. And then she says, "Oh, Blake, open your eyes. Am I not the granter of dreams? Did I not make you wish? Didn't I make your wish come true?" And here he had a stomach pain and stuff, and he's feeling sick and stuff. And she says, "Admit it, Blake. More or less, this is exactly what you always wanted." I don't feel good for. And she kisses him, and then she says, "Dreams actually do come true. Well, nightmares." And his head gets consumed by the stuff that he ate. It's like he's vomiting up stuff. And she says, "The truck of yours and the man of mine. Mistress, I am yours." And then she says, "My keep." And so this monster comes out of him, and he falls on the ground dead. So she basically, using the apple, created a monster out of his body, fed off his body, and then created this thing. And it's very horrific watching these Thor comics, because there's all these horror elements. This guy, he's running for his life from these creatures which are coming to devour him. It's just crazy, man. This is the stuff that Thor has. And if you go and read the Thor Ragnarok comics, they're intense. They're very intense. You know, there's infighting amongst the people in Asgard. The different tribes who hate one another and are fighting one another because of a rift that happened before. Surtur takes advantage of that to bring forth Ragnarok. And he's a fire demon, and he really behaves like a fire demon. He ain't cracking no stupid jokes. I'm just saying, man. When you see Thor, you see more of Conan the Barbarian. It reminds us a little bit of Zeus. Thor's kind of like Zeus. He's actually a god of thunder, so he can send lightning bolts. And the stuff I saw in Justice League, how Zeus was really moving a lightning bolt. Shit, it's just crazy. But what you see in Thor Ragnarok just annoys the crap out of me. You know what I mean? So, Thor was supposed to be more like Conan the Barbarian, but he's a god, so he's great powers and stuff like that. And just so you guys understand, go ahead and pick up the Infinity Gauntlet comic book. Go ahead and pick up Infinity War comic book. Go ahead and pick up Infinity Gauntlet. There are various Infinity Gauntlet comic books, okay? They're the ones from 1997. They're the ones from 2000 and I believe 14. You got the ones, more recent ones. I think it was 2000 and I can't remember, 2015 maybe, 2011 I think. But the point is, go read those comics and then go and watch Infinity War if you wish. All right, I'm not really interested in watching Infinity War because I already know the plot for it, and I understand how Thanos behaves and everything. So my point being, it's interesting how people say how Marvel goes according to the comics, but if you go and pick up a Thor comic, Thor is nothing like that Thor in the comic. All right, and it's interesting how they turn around and accuse BVS of having a Batman that kills, when if you look at BVS, I mean, especially this particular scene I'm showing you right here, which is inspired by Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. When you look at this hostage situation where Batman comes in and rescues Martha Kent, it is very much like The Dark Knight Returns situation where Batman rescues a hostage child. Okay? And in fact, I would say that The Dark Knight Returns situation, the hostage situation, is darker because one criminal shoots another criminal, then Batman bursts through the wall and catches that criminal, and then the other guy, he dares Batman and he says, look man, back off or else I'm going to kill the kid. And he says, I'm going to kill that kid. Batman shoots 3 shots and kills the guy, shooting him in his head. As you can clearly see, the shot that goes here definitely hit this guy in his head, and he's falling backwards, and Batman catches the child, and then he says, I believe you. Okay, after he's killed the dude. You know what I'm saying? And in fact, the people discuss it after and talk about how he's basically a monstrous vigilante, a bad, horrible person, because the action is so graphic, so murderous almost. But it's not really, because you got the only way to stop that guy was to kill him. So my point anyway is this: that at the end of the day, this which we saw in BVS, Batman did not shoot. He did not shoot. He fired 1 shot first of all, and he didn't shoot the guy in his head. He shot the tank. Okay, and then when the guy fired off the tank, he blew up the whole joint, and Batman was able to protect Martha in the process. Right? Same kind of thing. Goon, he didn't shoot. This goon didn't shoot somebody. Same kind of gun, by the way, which I find is really cool, very awesome. See this big gun here. See how big and long it is. It's pretty much the same gun. Wow, you know, he got the same gun right there. So I thought that was cool. And my point being, people criticize Batman and BVS for being violent, even though he didn't kill as many people as people claimed. Yeah, he basically torpedoed up a car. I blew it up and then drove through the middle of it. But for the most part, Batman didn't kill anybody. Not as many people as people claim. He was very brutal, though. Very brutal in how he behaved. And again, very much like The Dark Knight Returns Batman. And my point being this: people say the DCEU don't follow comics when they follow comics a lot more. You got Thor on one hand, who's not behaving anything like the comics. Nothing like his comic book counterpart. He's cracking jokes and he's funny. Odin and he have no rifts. Asgard has no in-family fighting. I mean, no fighting amongst other civilizations near to it. I mean, it's just one of those things where Disney just dumbed down Thor. Thor Ragnarok should have been a rated R movie. And if it wasn't rated R, rated PG. Okay? Ragnarok is a thing that happened, and lots of lives were lost. Some very key lives were lost in Ragnarok as well. Alright? And some versions of Thor Ragnarok, Hela's involved in saving Ragnarok. In other versions of Ragnarok, Hela doesn't have anything to do with it, and she's basically like Hades for Wonder Woman. She's like the hellish person, okay? So, at the end of the day, whichever way you want to look at it, the hypocrisy is always there. And that's why I'm pointing these things out in these videos. A lot of you guys leave your comments in the comment section below. If you enjoyed these videos, I'm glad. You guys have a great one.